Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the chilling and intense story of The Damned 2025. This movie takes you on a dark journey through guilt, fear, and the terrifying power of the mind. So without any delay, let's jump right into the full explanation of The Damned. The film begins with an explanation, set in 19th century Iceland by the sea, at a cottage where we see a group of fishermen. Every year during the harsh winter season, these men come to this icy, deadly place trying their luck to catch as many fish as possible. Among this group, we see a woman named Eva who leads them. We learn that the cottage and the boat belong to Eva's husband, but he died last year in a boat accident at this very place. Now Eva has to continue this work with the help of a Middle Eastern man named Ragnar. That night, the group is celebrating because they plan to go fishing for machines the next day. The night passes with an old lady named Helga telling a story about how guilt and greed can drive people insane. The next day, the group prepares the fishing nets and brings the boat to the shore. Suddenly, a boat in the sea hits a rock and sinks, sending a chill down everyone's spine. One man, Daniel, and the others want to rush to save the drowning fisherman, but Ragnar forbids it as it could endanger everyone else. Reluctantly, Eva agrees with Ragnar because she cannot risk putting her group in danger. After all, they all know how hard survival is in such conditions. Eva had made her decision, but the helpless faces of those drowning haunted her, constantly reminding her of her husband Magnus's death. The guilt was eating her up inside, so she immediately returns to the shore to check if anyone survived and can be helped. But after the tragic accident, survival was impossible. Accepting this, Eva begins to turn back when she finds a container that must have floated to the shore from the sunken boat. She takes it to Ragnar, and inside they find a large amount of meat. This meant more food and supplies were floating in the sea, which could make their struggle easier and allow them to survive longer. Therefore, Eva decides to go to the rock that night to retrieve whatever they can. Ragnar agrees to accompany her. That night, they take their boat and head towards the rock. Finally, they reach near the rock and find a box containing bottles of wine and oil. But then Eva notices some shadows on the rock and discovers that these are the survivors of the accident. However, they were not prepared for what was about to happen. Seeing the boat, the survivors go mad and rush toward it. This boat was their only chance of escape. Otherwise, they would have to accept their death in those harsh conditions. Eva and Ragnar see the danger because if all the survivors boarded their boat, it could sink and cause their deaths too. So they start moving the boat back, but the survivors attack the boat. During the struggle, one man tries to pull Eva down, but Daniel stabs the man's face with a knife. Somehow they manage to save themselves and return to the cottage. However, during this incident, they lost their fisherman, Ragnar, and Daniel was made the new fisherman. The next day, the group finds dead bodies washed ashore, victims of the accident, including the man who died in front of Eva. Once again, Eva feels overwhelming guilt. They decide, out of respect, to bury these people properly in coffins. One by one, they place the bodies in coffins. At that moment, Helga arrives and interrupts. She asks the men to perform some rituals, but they mock her and ignore her requests. When Eva asks them about it, she finds out that, according to Helga, people who die in the sea come back as doggers, which are vengeful spirits that keep chasing others until they cause their death. That's why these bodies need to be tied with ropes and nailed through their feet to stop the doggers. Hearing this, Eva feels very strange because she did not believe in such things. But she still couldn't forget the guilt of all those deaths. That night, while returning alone, Eva feels a presence around her. Looking around, she sees a black shadow not far from her, which suddenly starts moving aggressively towards her. Eva gets very scared, and while running, she falls. At that moment, Daniel arrives and helps her, and by then the shadow has disappeared. Eva tells Daniel everything, and she also remembers Helga's warning about the doggers, but Daniel tells her to ignore all these things Here we can feel some intimacy between the two, which neither of them wants to accept. Later that night while sleeping, Eva starts having nightmares about those drowning people, and she wakes up to their painful screams. Once again, her mind goes back to Helga's dogger story. On the same day, she finds a stake with a strange symbol carved on it at the cottage door. Eva asks Helga about it and learns that according to Helga, the stake can protect them from the doggers. Hearing this, Eva gets very angry and requests that Helga stop all this because it could affect their people too, and maybe they would stop working out of fear. Meanwhile, Eva finds some demonic drawings among Helga's belongings, which seem to be affecting her the most. On a positive note, they had caught a large number of fish, so they wouldn't need to go to the sea for several days. Eva happily celebrates this and everyone else joins her. But during the celebration, Eva suddenly sees that same shadow again in a dark corner. The shadow of the man who had died in front of her. The shadow starts moving toward Eva, and she panics. Everyone's attention turns to her, and they all become tense and confused because the shadow had disappeared before, but now reappeared. Feeling very embarrassed and panicked, Eva rushes to her room. Shortly after, Helga follows her and, understanding everything, tells Eva that she had warned her before, but Eva didn't listen. The dogger would soon take control of her mind and torment her until she takes her own life. And all this was going to happen to Eva and the others very soon. Eva couldn't sleep all night due to nightmares and thoughts about the dogger. The next day, her troubles worsened. All the fish they had caught were missing, and no one knew anything about it. On top of that, Helga had also disappeared by then. Eva's suspicion began to fall on Helga. They couldn't wait any longer and set out to find their food. On the way, they found many eaten fish lying around, which clearly showed that Helga was not responsible, as she didn't have the strength to take away so many fish. They all finally reached the coffins on the shore, and suddenly Eva ordered everyone to open the coffins. At first, no one understood, but eventually they had to follow Eva's order. Eva's suspicion was proven right when she found a corpse in one coffin, the corpse of the man who had died in front of her. Eva also started believing Helga's words. Eva firmly believed that the vengeful spirit, or dogger as Helga called it, was the spirit of the man who had died, seeking revenge. Determined not to make any more mistakes, Eva immediately performed the ritual Helga had taught her. She tied the legs of the corpses and hammered stakes into them, then locked the coffins to prevent their spirits from becoming doggers. Everyone was now convinced that these doggers were real, and their minds were consumed by fear of them. That night, while resting in the cottage, Eva felt the presence of a dogger again, but this time, a man appeared, informing her that one of their own was in critical condition. Eva rushed to see him and was told that the dogger would continue taking their lives. Suddenly, the man turned violent and attacked Daniel. To save Daniel, one of their men had no choice but to kill the attacker. This incident terrified everyone and made the dogger even more real in their minds. Daniel himself began to accept the shadow he had seen earlier as real, confirming that the dogger had invaded their minds completely. The next day, the situation worsened. One of the men blamed Eva, saying that if she had sent a boat that day to rescue them, none of this would have happened and lives would have been saved. Eva couldn't defend herself. Deep inside, she was overwhelmed by guilt and blamed herself as well. Meanwhile, Daniel was injured badly in an accident caused by the dogger. While being chased by a shadow outside, he slipped on ice and got seriously hurt. Eva was distraught but managed to administer first aid. Without anyone else around, Daniel's condition deteriorated further. He became violent and started attacking everyone. Eva tried to calm him, but the worst happened. Daniel took his own life right in front of her. This shattered Eva completely. The others were losing control too, and they decided to leave the place. Eva remembered Helga's warning that the only way to end the dogger's curse was to find and kill it. Eva and Helga planned to use their rituals to track down the creature. The group started moving toward the mountains along the shoreline. As they progressed, thick fog surrounded them, and eventually they got separated. Eva saw one of the men falling down the mountain. When she reached him, she found his body along with Helga's frozen corpse, who had died long ago. Eva was devastated. Only 3 of them remained alive, and she could not bear to watch anyone else die. Eva decided to leave immediately. She ordered 2 men to prepare a boat while she returned to the cottage. Suddenly, she heard footsteps and realized the dogger was near. She hid under a table, and as it approached, she shot it with a nearby gun and set fire to the cottage. She told the others not to worry, claiming she had killed the dogger. But then, for the first time, Eva experienced a flashback revealing the film's climax. The dogger she had shot was not a spirit, but a man speaking in a foreign language. He claimed that all the recent events were not caused by any dogger. There was no such creature. It was their collective paranoia and guilt playing tricks on them. The man had come seeking help and was only accused because of their fear. Eva, unable to understand his language and driven mad by the ordeal, killed him. Only then did the others realize the truth, but by that time, it was too late. Eva's irreversible actions had doomed them all. Consumed by guilt, Eva began to believe in the existence of the dogger, a sinister spirit that was supposedly haunting them. Blinded by her torment, she ended up killing an innocent man, mistaking him for this evil entity. This tragic mistake was the result of her hallucinations and deteriorating mental state. Slowly, the rest of the group also fell prey to the same paranoia and fear. One by one, they started seeing the dogger themselves, and more innocent lives were lost. After the recent violent incident, Eva's guilt deepened even further. What it would drive her to next was unknown. Would she ever be able to reveal the truth to the others? That question lingered as the film reached its haunting conclusion. To protect the others, Eva chose not to save the people stranded on the sinking ship. This decision only increased her inner torment and reinforced her belief in Helga's warnings. Her actions convinced the rest to believe in the dogger too, plunging them into mental despair. Their paranoia grew so intense that many of them eventually took their own lives. Helga, who was already mentally unstable and obsessed with these supernatural ideas, was the first to die because of her own fears and actions. But when the truth finally came to light, revealed through the man Eva killed, it was too late. Eva was unable to distinguish truth from illusion, and trapped in her conspiracy-riddled mind, killed an innocent person. This was the core plot of the film. The makers introduced a powerful demonic force, not a ghost or spirit, but human guilt itself. Guilt, in its purest and darkest form, is so demonic that it can manipulate a person into doing anything, blurring the lines between right and wrong. That was the full story of The Damned, 2025, a film that shows how guilt can turn into a deadly force. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.